I'm not asking for me, Arnie. It's for the kids. You can't just forget them.
You got plenty of money of your own, as much as I've been paying you every month.
This is no time to be crying about that. You're letting your own children go hungry.
If you'd accepted your responsibilities as wife and mother, we might still be together. Don't blame me for what you didn't do.
But, Arnie, aren't you going to listen? Aren't you going to at least think of your...
Goodbye, Melly.
Goodbye, Arnie.
What's the matter, Mom?
Your father skipped out on his payment as usual.
Why don't you buy me a new dress, Mom? All the other girls have new clothes. Why can't you buy me new clothes?
Oh, shut up and leave me alone, will you? I'll get something worked out so you can have your new dress.
Refusal to accept responsibility not only demonstrates a lack of concern, it also reflects a lack of honesty. As one example, New York City's welfare department pointed out in 1969 some 15,000 men were behind in payments to their families to the tune of some $26 million. Thus, fleeing responsibility leads to family breakup. It continues beyond into the disregard of normal parental obligations toward the care of children who likely have nothing to do with the separation of their parents. There is, however, a God-given obligation which rests on parents to accept and discharge their responsibilities toward one another and their children.
I don't mean to be giving you a sob story, Mr. Summers, but I was a secretary up to 10 years ago. You've seen my references. I have office experience, and I need a job.
Well, Mrs. Forster, I sympathize with your situation, and I really appreciate your desire to provide adequately for your children. The pay isn't very high to start with, and the only job we have open is temporary.
Mr. Summers, you've never been a woman over 40 trying to get a job. After more than 10 years away from the business field.
No, I can't say that I have.
I'll be very happy for whatever you give me. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, fine. In that case, Mrs. Forster, we'll see you at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, and I'll arrange for you to become acquainted with your job.
Thank you very much, Mr. Summers. I can't tell you how much I appreciate this.
Mom's got a job. Mom's got a job.
What are you going to do, Mom?
I don't know yet. Some kind of office work.
Now you'll be making lots of money. You can buy me all kinds of new dresses.
No, I won't be making all kinds of money. Now look, if we're going to be making ends meet, you kids are going to have to help out.
You want us to get jobs too, Mom?
No, just help keep the house straight. We'll work things out so that, Dick, you can have a turn at washing dishes one day. And Karen will take care of dishwashing the next day. Then I'll take care of it the next day.
Oh, Mom, do I have to?
Look, kids, why don't you just do what I ask you to do? If we don't help each other out, we'll never make it.
Oh, Mom, I'm tired.
From doing what?
I've had a hard day myself, you know. It isn't easy for a kid to have his father walk out in a family. You can't expect me to be running around and cleaning up my room, too. It's an emotional hardship on me.
Mom, can we go shopping for my new dress tomorrow?
Well, that gets the dishes washed. Now we'd better get moving if we're going to get to the Roberts on time.
It'll only take me a few minutes to get ready, Joe. Thanks for helping with the kitchen.
Well, I've got to keep my hand in somehow.
Could you see who that is, Joe?
Sure.
Are you Joe Summers?
Yes, I am.
I thought so. My name's Arnie Forster. You hired my wife.
Your wife?
Millie Forster. Can I come in? I've got to talk to you, Mr. Summers.
I suppose so, but I was just on my way out, so I only have a very few minutes.
To say what I've got to say, it'll only take a few minutes.
And what do you have to say, Mr. Forster?
Fire my wife.
As I understand it, you were divorced.
I don't know what she told you, and I don't care. But I'm taking care of my kids. I don't need the embarrassment of her going around town saying this, that, or the other thing about me.
I don't take care of my job here in my home. I take care of it at my office during regular hours. If you had something to say, you didn't have to come here. You could have gone there.
This was too important. I didn't have time for that.
And something else, too. I'm not in the habit of getting involved in other people's personal feuds. Nor is Goodman Printing in the habit of having someone walk in off the street and tell them who to hire and who to fire.
Whether you like it or not, Mr. Summers, you're involved. The minute you hired Millie Firster, you got involved. I can cause plenty of trouble for you.
Well, if you didn't want her to have taken the job, and if you have some discussion with her on the matter, I suggest you get it discussed with her.
All right, we'll get that settled right here and now.
Joe, what are we going to do?
I'm beginning to think that one thing we'll have to do is to notify the Roberts we're going to be a little late.
Hello, Millie. I want you to get over to Joe Summers' house right away. I want him to know the truth. Well, bring your precious kids. You've got the address. Step on it.
You know, Mr. Firster, you must understand one thing if you're going to go ahead with this. You're going to respect standards I follow in this case, or you're going to get out of my home.
What do you mean, your standards? My standards are that I don't want my wife working for you.
I didn't say your standards, Mr. Firster. I said the standards I follow. They're written down in the Bible. Now, you're going to have to be willing to listen to them if you stay in my house and want my ear, or else you're going to have to get out.
I'll go call the Roberts, Joe.
Well, what do you say?
Well, all right, but by the time I get through, you'll see it was all her fault. And you wouldn't want anyone like that working for you.
We'll see.
And so he walked out on me and the children, and for the past 3 months we haven't been able to get him to pay our support.
Well, why shouldn't I have walked out on him? Always bowing and scraping at those precious kids. Couldn't make them do anything if they didn't want to. If she was a real mother, she'd have been raising them to respect their father.
There never was any father home to respect.
Be quiet, dear.
I don't have to be quiet if I don't want to.
All you could ever be, Arnie, was a weekend father when you were in your prime.
And all you could ever be was a year-long nag. And you're still in your prime at that.
I think I see something here that both of you would do very well to pay attention to. Are any of you familiar with the account of Jonah? It's in Jonah chapter 1, verses 1, 2, and 3. Fran, how about you reading that?
You know, I don't have to listen.
You agreed before we started that you were going to listen to this or leave. Now, if you're so anxious for me to see about taking this job away from your former wife, you'll have to make up your mind. Either do it this way or not at all.
All right, go ahead.
And the word of Jehovah began to occur to Jonah the son of Amittai, saying, Get up, go to Nineveh, the great city, and proclaim against her that their badness has come up before me.
It was an order from God to Jonah to proclaim a message against Nineveh. He was given an assignment, a responsibility. Do you know what happened when he got that responsibility?
What difference does it make to me?
What are you trying to say, Mr. Summers?
Would you read verse 3, Fran?
And Jonah proceeded to get up and run away to Tarshish from before Jehovah, and...
Excuse me, Fran. Did you get that expression, Arnie? When Jonah received that assignment, he proceeded to get up and run away from before Jehovah without accomplishing his assignment.
What does that have to do with me?
Well, you remember about Jonah being swallowed by a big fish. Now, this happened after he'd been thrown into the ocean by some sailors on his ship who'd been frightened by a storm. All he suffered as a consequence was because he'd run away from his responsibility to carry out the assignment which God had given him. He got up and ran away. Now, in the end, Jonah did take up his assignment, but he had to learn some very hard lessons before he did.
Oh, that sounds like a good story.
Oh, so that's all it is. Look, let's get down to brass tacks.
Well, Arnie, as far as the Bible is concerned, marriage is an institution started by God.
Even God makes some mistakes.
God doesn't make mistakes. But people who won't take his advice make more than their share. Now look, you got an assignment as soon as you became a father, Arnie, just as much as Jonah had an assignment, and from the same source as his. Now look at this in the Bible book of Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 4. Read it.
Well, I'm not exactly...
What's the matter, Dad? You can't read?
Well, all right. And you fathers, do not be irritating your children, but go on bringing them up in the discipline and mental regulating of Jehovah.
Now there is an assignment to you as a father, an assignment to bring up your children in a certain way. What are you doing? Are you doing that?
Millie made it too hard for me.
I didn't ask that. And the Bible didn't ask that either. Are you bringing up your children, or are you running away from
It's
them?
Millie's fault.
It's no fault of mine that you won't accept your responsibilities. If you'd been listening to me...
The Bible puts down a like assignment for wives in 1 Peter chapter 3. Here, Millie, you read this.
Well, I don't think.
You can't read either, Mom?
In like manner, you wives, be in subjection to your husbands. Why,
What is the assignment here? Were you following that, or were you running away from it?
I don't need to be sermonized.
Neither do I.
Nobody is sermonizing you, as you put it. I just asked a question about whether you had accepted your responsibilities as parents and as husband and wife, or did you beg off from them? Did you run away?
You should see the big fights they always used to have, Mr. Summers.
Oh, could Mom call Dad some...
Keep your mouth shut. Those are personal affairs.
A part of your personal affairs before God is also to rear your children and to set them a good example, not to beg off from that too.
They always had time not to be with us.
Did you know that you children had an assignment too? Did you back off from that too?
What assignment?
This one, in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 1.
All right, smart kid. Show 'em you can read.
Children, be obedient to your parents in union with the Lord, for this is righteous. So,
Were you obedient to your parents?
No, they weren't.
Karen? Dick?
No.
no.
So, all right. Now, when you look at your family, what do you see? Has anyone lived up to his responsibility and his obligations in the family, or did you all beg off, quit?
So, what do you want us to do? Get back together?
Well, you make your own decisions for your own life. But if you want to come bursting into someone's home, make threats and accusations, Arnie, look at the mirror honestly. Some of the blame could be yours.
And hers.
And hers. But that's what the Bible had to say. You wanted and agreed to listen. Now make your decisions about yourselves. If you have any more to say about the job, you can make an appointment to see me in my office.
That certainly was an exciting enough night. We didn't get to the Roberts till 8:30 instead of 7.
I'm glad they understood.
How about the Firsters? Do you think they really understood?
Well, to tell you the truth, Fran, I was a little upset with his whole manner, barging into the house in such a huff. It was only for his family's sake I didn't insist he leave earlier. A man like that could be stirring up a lot worse trouble. So I figured if he was insisting, we'd better get it settled now. If he'd only listened to the Bible in the first place, he might never have been separated from his wife.
It doesn't seem people can really believe Jehovah can know what's best in directing their lives.
Well, I guess it's too much to ask that everybody accept their responsibilities as parents. But we can do our part not to beg off ourselves. And, you know, maybe have a bit of Debbie's sponge cake with the kids before we go to bed, huh?
Running away from any God-given responsibility will cause frustration and unhappiness. How unnecessary to do so, since the Bible so clearly outlines those responsibilities and the means to accomplish them.
The program, All Scripture is Beneficial, was produced by the Watchtower Society and presented by Jehovah's Witnesses.